Welcome to our fourth and final webinar in our Microsoft March series. We are happy to have you here again. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted online for future viewing, so you can revisit that anytime. But just a reminder about the recordings, it may take a while for them to be posted online. Our team is working on processing and captioning each recording, and we want to make sure that they're the best that they can be for you. So thanks again for your patience on those. The recordings are coming soon and they will be posted on our Microsoft March website when they're ready. For those of you who are new, Microsoft March is IT Solutions' annual celebration of Microsoft Office 365 and all the amazing apps and tools that you have access to as a student, faculty, or staff member at Minnesota State University Mankato. So all March long, we've been helping educate and share tips and resources on Office 365 apps with online help articles and a series of special training webinars, with this one being our last webinar in the series. So March is coming to an end, which means Microsoft March is almost over, but all of our resources on Office 365 will still be up and available to you online at any time. So we encourage you to continue learning about Office 365 apps all year long. If you want to check out our other resources, go online to mankato.mnsu.edu/Microsoft March. And I did put that in the chat, and I'll also continue putting links in the chat as we go along too, so watch that. Okay, let's go ahead and begin our webinar. So today's topic is apps you have but haven't heard of. So we'll talk about some really interesting and useful apps that you might not even know that you have access to. My name is Lexi Potter, and I'll be helping host this session. I am the Strategic Communications Coordinator at IT Solutions. And in a second, we'll switch off to our presenters, Brian Johnson and Steve Rodman, both solutions architects at IT Solutions. As a reminder, if you have questions throughout the webinar, feel free to use the Q&A button or send them in the chat, and I'll do my best to read those off for you. Otherwise, we'll save the last few minutes at the end for more questions if you have them. So with that, we'll switch over to Brian and Steve.
Oh, thanks, Lexi. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. All right, let me end our presentation here and our slideshow here and open a web browser, because today we're going to be demoing a lot of different apps in Office 365. So
yes, the first one we're going to take a look at is bookings once we get everything logged in. And then after that, we're going to take a look at forms.
Excellent. Yeah, so to get started, you can see my screen right now, right? I have a web browser open currently on Google. So with this, I think I'm going to start the same place we've been starting, and that's with Mavmail, because I think that's just a common place that everyone is familiar with. That Mavmail is our university email system, but it's also like a great jumping off point for everything Office 365. Okay, so I just did a quick search for Mavmail. It was the first result, and then I'm going to choose the login to Office 365/Mavmail button. And it's going to bring me to my inbox. And right now I'm using a demo account. So this is not my personal email account. This is a demonstration account so that I don't accidentally show some information that I'm not intending to. So in this demo account, I just logged into my mailbox, and you'll see, a view that I'm sure everyone is familiar with, which is just my standard inbox view. But in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see there's a little grid of dots here. Some people call it the waffle, or it's officially called the app launcher. And when I click on that, it shows me all the apps that are available to me in Office 365. And actually, maybe I should stop short. It does not show me all the apps. It shows me the most popular apps up here. If I want to see all the apps, I'll actually click the All Apps button, and that will change into a list of all the apps that are available to me. So
one quick side note here is that if your favorite app isn't there in the short list, when you click on it, you can right click and pin any of these Microsoft apps up there.
Okay, yeah, so the first one we're going to be demonstrating is Bookings. So on that note, let's say I'm planning to use Bookings a lot. I can click the three dots, and I can pin that to Launcher just to demonstrate what Steve just said. And then I'm going to go over to Bookings. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and it will take me out of my inbox and over to bookings. All right, so here's a quick a demonstration view of bookings and everything that I can do. And I don't have a bookings calendar yet, so I'm going to create one. So I'm going to click the add a booking calendar. And here's where I can come up with my service name. But before I do this, I really just want to give a few examples of how bookings pages are being used. So I won't get into all the creating of one, but I just want to show some how they're being used. So give me 1 second while I click a link here. I just clicked a link for my personal bookings page. So just so that I could become familiar with it and I actually started using it and find it great, I just created a personal bookings page for me. So some people are familiar with scheduling meetings in Outlook, but not everyone is, and they just want a simple interface for getting on my calendar. So here's a demonstration of how it works. So here's my personal, it's got my name, my title at the top, and then you can either book me for a 1-hour consultation or a 30-minute consultation. And when you select one of those, it will search my Outlook calendar for times that I'm available. So if you wanted to book me today, you'd choose the 1-hour consultation and see that I'm bookable at 2:15 p.m. on today's date. And then there's a little bit more information down here that I ask of people, and they click book, and that's it. It will send them an email confirmation, and it will send me a notice, and it will block out my calendar to show that I'm now booked. So that's an example of an individual use. But it's really, the bookings is really powerful when you get into using it with teams. So here's a team of people. Psychology Peer Tutoring put one together so that they could tutor their students. And the options they have available is an online tutoring session, a 30-minute and a 1-hour, and a in-person tutoring session in Armstrong Hall 50 for 30 minutes or 1 hour. And when you select that, it actually doesn't just search one person, it searches a whole team of people to see when they're available, when they're bookable. And so you can say, I want an online tutoring session today. Here's all the available times, and it will in each one of these items. So some of our staff members will do online, some will only do in person, and you get to configure that in bookings to decide which staff member goes with which service, and then you can configure when they're available. And it just creates a really easy interface for scheduling time with someone. And then additionally, even though bookings was originally designed for booking staff, when the pandemic started, we had to come up with a way that people could book times for spaces too. And we worked with MnState, and we came up with a good solution that you can turn a space into a bookable item. So Auto Recreation has done a good job with this, where they created the ability to book individual services right here for Auto Recreation. So if I want a weight room reservation, let's see if there's any available today. Today on the 30th, it looks like there is. There's an 11, a 12, so it looks like a lot of availability. And I know I'm going to be done with work at 5, so I'm going to go in and do some weightlifting. So weight room reservation for today at 5 p.m. I can enter my details and click book, and it will send me a confirmation email, and it will block that space out on the Auto Rec calendar for that service so that no one else books at that time. And let's quick set up a service. So if I wanted to create a new IT team, and I haven't done this with the demo account yet, so I should have probably confirmed that this was going to work with a demo account. But if it doesn't, I do have my personal account here that I can show as well. So there it is. I just created a new booking for this IT demo team. So then over here on the left menu, you'll see that there's places that I can add my staff. So this is where you add your people. So currently by default, it adds me, my IT demo user account anyway. I could add Steve. It lets me set up my services. So, you know, the services that I had on my individual calendar were a consultation for 30 minutes or 1 hour. I could, you know, add a 2-hour option or a 4-hour option, or I could add a, you know, computer repair option. So all sorts of services you can set up there. And there's just a ton of options here. And the purpose of this demonstration or this presentation isn't to dive deep on any one of these services, but just to show you what's possible. So that's just a quick overview of bookings. Was there anything else that you wanted me to mention there, Steve, or highlight? Or were there any questions, Lexi?
Yeah, we do have one question. This person asks, do I have to update my Office 365 or download bookings? I have relogged into my account, but still not finding the bookings page in the waffle.
Okay, so I believe bookings is limited to faculty and staff only. So if this is a student or you're using a student account, that would be why bookings isn't showing up. So if you're a part of a student group that needs a bookings calendar, you're going to want to work with an advisor or with a faculty or staff member on doing that. And if you're still not able to get it and you are in a faculty or staff account, please submit a service request to the IT Solutions Center and we'll look into what's going on there. It could just be a licensing glitch that we just need to work out. So, any other questions? Or Steve, did you have any other additions to make here?
No, it looks great.
All right. So the next app that you have but haven't heard of that we're going to demonstrate is Microsoft Forms. So I'm going to click my waffle menu or my app launcher, which is always here. And all these apps that we're using, you can always get back to your apps by clicking the app launcher. And the next one we want to demonstrate is Forms. So let me choose Forms. And here we have, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say forms are a great way to solicit information, much like, SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics. Qualtrics we do have a license for as well, but sometimes you don't need the in-depth analysis of a Qualtrics. For example, we've got a student success party that we're trying to plan, a chance to celebrate the students and their hard work this year. And so we're going to throw it out to our department of people, and we're going to see if we can put together a nice sending off party for them. So in Forms, you can create surveys. You can ask questions, right? The top question was put in your name. It was a type. Question 2 is what's called a radial button or a single choice. So they can pick one of those options, not more. The question below that is a ranking. So rank those top to bottom in the order in which you can attend. And question number 4 is an example of a multi-choice. They can pick either one of those. There's more question choices. If you go ahead and hit add new, we can do a text box. We can make it a multi-line. We can do a rating, a star rating. We can do a Likert scale. And a couple other options there.
Yeah, some options here that I really like are the ability to create sections and then branching. So I actually have a good example of this department that has deployed this well. So it's a flight lab registration. So our aviation students, they need permission before they can register. And so here's an example of a completed form in its final version. You see we were able to get it to the university colors, add the logo, add a nice background so students know exactly what it is they're doing here. So which term are you requesting to register for? This is an example of branching. So the first thing we want them to kind of help select is which terms, because right now registration is open for both. So let's say they want to register for fall, they'll click next, and you'll see here they want to choose which courses they're going to register for, how they intend to pay, and that they understand their responsibilities. They click submit, and that's it. That will go off to our aviation department or our student financial services department to start planning for that student to be in these courses.
Yep, branching is that's a wonderful example, a great way to provide an answer to a certain question to solicit more information through branching. Another great thing about Forms is that if you click on the responses tab there, Brian, you can get a quick overview of the responses as they come in. We can see, right, the first one probably isn't a great one because it's their name, but what are you planning on bringing? It breaks it down into kind of a pie chart. So we see the ranking scales kind of shows us what day has risen to the top as the first choice. And
so
then
Steve,
the bottom.
Yeah, I see one flaw here that you didn't include desserts, and that should be the biggest part of the pie. But anyway, continue.
Well, I thought you were going to bring them all. And then the bottom one is another pie chart, kind of would you consider donating for a door prize or scholarship? So this can be a great way to see kind of at a glance the information as it's coming in to kind of give you how it's trending. But if you want to look at the full data set, if you scroll up again, Brian, there is an open in Excel option right there, and you can get the full data set and all the answers to the questions that are submitted in a
You see when I
downloadable.
clicked on that, it downloaded an Excel file, so then I can take and use that however I want. You know, if I'm more comfortable working in Excel, or I just want to take that data set somewhere else. So if you're doing something more like a survey and you want to do some analytics in it in Power BI or one of the other tools, that's a good way to export data quickly.
Yes, to answer Christina's question about being able to skip, yep, that would be an example of a branching. It's probably not as easy to just skip a single question, but yes, there's branching available. So if, for example, if you click on question 2 there, Brian.
Yep.
So, and then if you click on the 3 dots and we do add branching. So here, if they pick main dish, we can tell it where to go next, what question to go to. And that's how branching works. And then
if you have sections, if you have
Yep.
sections, you can actually take them to a completely different section. So maybe if they choose main dish, you want them to go right to the end of the form. I believe that's even an option. So yeah, end of
Yep.
form, or you want them to go to section 5. So you can actually absolutely direct them through kind of sorting what information you're trying to collect from them.
Yep. And then if you want to open up the menu option, that was another part that I wanted to just talk through at the top there. These forms are
Sorry, say that
available-
again.
just the options menu at the top. So
Okay.
exit out of the branching.
Okay.
Yep. And then if you go to the 3 dots, so yep, under settings, there's just a lot of different settings that you can go through here. The first box is all about who can fill it out. When you select anyone with the link can fill it out. Doesn't matter their affiliation with the university, doesn't matter anybody can fill it out. The second button for only people in our organization will require them to use a star ID and password to get into the form. And here you have a couple options. You can record their name. You can have only 1 response per person, which is great. And then the bottom option is specific people, meaning you send this out as a clickable link in a message to them, and then they're able to get into it.
Yeah, so if I wanted to share this with just the members of my team, I could then add them, the 5 people that I want on my team to fill that out as the specific people to fill it out.
Yep. Another, that's exactly right, Brian. Another portion on the bottom there, you can turn this on and off by just clicking the box for accept responses. So if you've reached the end of your survey period, you can just uncheck that. You can give it a start and end date, so you don't have to worry about coming and clicking that button. If this was more of a quiz, if you were trying to kind of solicit your students to see where they are in the current chapter, you can shuffle the question options. You can customize your thank you message. Just a lot of different options here. You can also show a progress bar. We'd have to have more than 2 sections to do that. We only had 1, but that options is there as well. Also some responses. What happens when they click submit? You can get an email notification for each response that's submitted if you'd like. You can allow the recipient to view their responses after submission as well. If they're anonymous, I believe it'll let them download it. So there's just a lot of different back-end options that you can do with this. Another one right to the left of the 3 dots is the share button. And this is how you can get this out to people. Send and collect responses. That information is all right there at the top. You can copy that link and get it sent out. You can use QR codes. There's embed codes. And then there's just a good old-fashioned email as well. At the bottom, the share to collaborate is how you get that out to people helping you build the survey or people who need access to the information. That can be put there as well. The share
Yes,
as a temp. Oh,
yeah, you can see in this example, so Steve had created this form, but then he brought me, the demo account I'm using, in as a collaborator on this. So those are the 2 people that can access it, is our demo account and Steve right now. But continue.
Yep. And then the link above it, the share as a template. We can actually take this, if we're going to be doing a survey that's going to have the similar core questions, but different peripheral questions, next semester or next year, we can save this as a template and we can actually duplicate this and then modify it as need be for that other example.
Yeah, and I really like the forms in terms of how you can really customize them with themes. So you saw with the Aviation Flight Lab, for example, they really did a good job of choosing the university colors, adding a university icon to make it clear that this is, for collecting university data. But then there's just some fun backgrounds too, if you're just doing like a party planning thing like Steve did here with the party goers in the background, or we could, click this one and change it to that real easily. So lots of different options there, and customizability. And you can click preview to see. Yeah, sorry. I just click preview and you can see what it looks like on a desktop browser, but then you can also click mobile and see what it looks like on a mobile phone, where if you have students filling it out, many of them may be using that instead of a laptop or desktop computer.
I did see we had a couple questions come in. Can participants change their responses once it's submitted? To my knowledge, no. They can view the responses, but they can't edit their current submission. There was another question about, is there a way to send an email reminder to complete the survey just to those who have not yet responded? I do not believe that the Microsoft Forms in its current edition allows for that. However, there's probably another program we're talking about later that we could work a solution to do that. But we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're hinting at Power Automate, which is really a power tool that lets you, anytime you want to do custom functions like that, it lets you really customize and build out things like that. So that one might take a lot of trial and error to get working correctly. So, if it's something you're going to be doing frequently, absolutely worth the effort. But if it's something just a one-off, party, might take more work than it would be worth to set that up. But
with that, are there any other questions before we jump on to our next topic, which will be Planner?
I think we have a couple more questions about forms. So someone asks, can you guys just clarify again, who can they send these surveys to? Is it everyone, like students, faculty, and staff? Or do you have to have an Office 365 account to fill it out?
So, yep, that's a great question. So you can send this out to anyone. You can send it, they don't have to be affiliated with the university. That is one of the options. That's anyone can respond. Anyone can fill it out. Doesn't matter if they're sitting next to you or they're on the other side of the world. The next menu down, only people in my organization can respond, is going to limit those responses to just people within the MnState organization or Mankato. And those responses are going to need a star ID and password to even get into the survey to start filling it out. And then the last option, the specific people in my organization, can even further limit that down to only the people that I've solicited with the link.
Yeah, so then you'd have to be logged in. So if I did specific people and I said Steve and Lexi can access, you would need to be logged in as either Steve or Lexi to be able to get to that form. So this form that I showed earlier, this Aviation Flight Lab, is actually limited to people in people in the organization. So if I was an external person, and I'll quick demonstrate that, if you ever want to test what external people can access and what they can't, you can take your browser and go into either like a guest mode or incognito mode. You can paste the link in and see what happens when you try to go open that form. So when I try to open this form as an external user, what I find is that it's going to prompt me for my credentials. And so I could log in here and then it would give me access. But if I don't have credential, university star ID and password or ability to log in, I would not be able to get to that form.
Okay, and then one more question. Can you just remind our audience again how to view the responses from the form? And then also if you can export them into an Excel spreadsheet or into other options.
Yep, so when you log into the form,
I'll start back at the forms main page.
Perfect.
And I can see here that the one form that I currently have in my account is the Student Success Party, and that I have 11 responses. So then I can click on that form. And you'll see there's two tabs at the top. There's where I can customize the questions, and then there's the responses. There's the 11 again. I can look at just an overview of how people are answering. I can actually click view results and view individually. So this one was submitted by Steve Rodman. I have a feeling all these will work because this is a demonstration, but I can click through each individual response and see how they filled out that form. Or I can go click open in Excel. So if you just want the data that's being collected here and you want to take it somewhere else to analyze it, that'd be a good option for you.
All right, I think we're good to move on to the next app.
Excellent. So the next app we're going to be demonstrating is Planner. So once again, I'm shifting here from working on my forms to Planner. I go up to my app launcher in the upper left-hand corner. And as you can see, I'm not seeing Planner here on my initial list. So I'm going to click all apps. And if I don't want to have to search through a list to find it, I can just type and find it. Click on Planner and it brings me over to the Planner page. So Planner is really a powerful project management tool. Later, we're going to be talking about to-do lists, which is really kind of aimed for personal action items that you know you need to take care of in your role. But Planner is really great for working with people, though it can be used individually too. So I've heard of some people using this individually, but really it excels at being a tool for collaboration and working on a team. So I'm going to create a new plan here for us. And Steve, what was it going to be our example? Should we do like a website transition?
Sure, that sounds great.
All right. And then, so I'm going to give it a name, website transition, and I can associate it with a group. So Steve added me to his team and I'm going to click create plan. And since I associated that with a team, it brings in all the team members here so that they can all access and do it as well. So the first to-do item, you know, when I create a new project or when I'm first kind of wrapping my head around something, I just like to start kind of getting some of the ideas out of my head and into just down on paper or really down into the system somehow. So I could just create a few action items here of, you know, purge outdated content. Let's see here, organize files. And anyway, so I start putting some things together here. Oh yeah, announce launch. Okay. Update supervisor. So these are all things that I'm going to do as part of this website transition. Now, as I start adding these, some of these don't make sense to do right now. That I can't announce the launch right now because we're really just getting started. So this might be where I create different buckets. So right now, here's my overall to-do list. Over here, I have an option to add a new bucket. So let me click on that. And I'm going to call this one post-launch to-dos. All right. So now I have my to-do list, but I have some things here that are really only make a lot of sense after I've launched. So I'm going to take announce launch and move that to my post-launch bucket. And you just take and you can just drag and drop it, or I can open the item and choose which bucket it goes in. So I could move it back to to-do here, or I can move it to my post-launch to-do. And then there's lots of other things here in the form too that let me customize like my organization system. So right now I only have a handful of tasks. So, you know, getting too fine grain on like priority or progress or start, you know, that might not make a lot of sense. But when you have dozens or hundreds of items, you really want to start using your progress indicators, your priorities, and just the bigger the project it gets, the more things you want to do. And the cool thing here, this is like an overview, you know, announce launch. Well, how am I going to announce the launch? I can actually create a sub checklist within this. So I'm going to email staff. I'm going to post to teams. I'm going to include in newsletter. So just like that, I have announce launch. I have 3 checklist items. And another thing I can do is decide who is going to do this item. So up here at the top, I have an assign button. So this one really ought to be Steve. He's kind of in charge of communications for this. So I'm going to choose Steve. And now I can see that the announce launch task is a post-launch to-do item. It's Steve's item, and here's the sub list that he needs to make sure he includes. And I didn't think of everything this time. So, you know, down the road, I might say, oh yeah, we also want to make sure we get it included in the HR newsletter or some other item. And I can go in here and I can edit this and add another item, you know, include newsletter. And so as Steve completes this this item, he can go through this individual checklist, and then once he's completely done, he can check off overall that it's completely done. Or he can say that, you know, it's in progress, and you know, because he got 2 of the things done, and that will update and kind of give you some visuals to go along with as you progress through completing of an action item. In addition to creating buckets, oh yeah, I'm going to create another bucket called pre-launch. And oh, I could go into charts here. So this is something I wanted to show. Charts kind of give you some visuals to go along with where you're at. So how many, you know, priority items do I have here in progress? I have 1. So, you know, once again, when you only have a handful of items, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you have dozens of items spread across, you know, handfuls of people, you know, these views really start to help understand where you're at with a given project. And then there's also a schedule view. So if you want to view things in terms of when they're going to get done with each of those items, you can choose start dates and end dates. And so you can start to map those out in a calendar grid view for really, once again, understanding kind of the progression of a project and when you can expect things to be done. And you can keep your team apprised that way too. So if they want to know when it's going to be launched, you can, you know, set that firm to-do date, and you can show all the things between now and then that have to get done. So your group can stay apprised of where you're at with a given project. Are there any questions, or Steve, did you have anything to add to this?
There was one question that came in. It said, can you template a project that might have the same tasks to complete them? As far as I know, I don't know if you can create a template. But that would be a very useful feature, but I don't think right now you can. Oh, look at that. You can export the plan to Excel, but I don't know if there's a way to import it. Oh, you can copy it.
I'm wondering if this copy plan would be the way to do that. So I don't know what will happen when I click that, but we can see. It looks like I can decide what to include, the checklist, the labels.
And then if, yep, you give it a group there.
I need to choose a group for it, and then copy plan. So yeah, great question. I have not actually done this myself, but it seems like a great idea if there's something that you do over and over. So maybe hiring, I know I was part of a department that we hired, you know, once every 3 to 6 months or so. So just having a plan where I could go fire up that new hire process and know who's going to do what, it seems like a great function. So thank you for that question.
Another item I wanted to point out that you can do with the different tasks is that you can actually put labels on them. So I went ahead and labeled my task with a blue, and I changed the label to post launch. So that's another way that you can help organize items, whether or not each person gets an individual color, or like a set of tasks get a certain set of colors. So post launch is going to be blue. Everything to do pre-launch is going to be orange.
Yeah, and I can show you one of the benefits of taking the time to add tags like that is that you can later filter by it. So you can filter by due dates, by labels. So I think you labeled it blue with post launch. Yep. So if I only want to show those items, I come up here to the filter option. I choose that post launch thing. It's got a check mark next to it. And now you can see, instead of showing dozens or hundreds of tasks here, it just limited to just those things that are post launch. Same thing with people. If I want to limit it, all right, I know Steve's working on this project, but only show me the Steve Rodman things. I can choose Steve Rodman and see what he ought to be working on within this given project.
And then another handy tool is within each task, you can also add files that might be, useful. So we're talking about post launch, we're talking about newsletters. Maybe I want to include a link to that. Maybe I want to include the file that I've created for it, so that it's in this place for us to use.
So there, I just attached the Our Big Project document. And then I can close out of that task. All right, I think that's all we've got to show right now for Planner, unless there was another question.
We do have someone wondering what exactly the difference is between Planner and Microsoft To Do. So that might be a good segue into the next app.
Sure, let's get into Microsoft To Do. Like I said earlier, a project is really meant to be used with teams and lets you organize things in buckets. It's just a really kind of easy interface. Most people, once you work in it for just a few minutes, you kind of start to understand the Kanban layout, this different kind of buckets where it's at. So you could, each of these buckets could be a stage too, if you wanted to see things in order. Like this one we could call discovery, and the next one we could call initial conversation, and the next one after that could be in progress, and the last bucket could be completed. And so you could see, okay, how many things we have in the to-do list? Well, at the start of the project we got 100 things in there and none in the next buckets. But as time progresses, you see as things move across, okay, now we've got most of our items in the finished bucket and just a handful left in the to-do, initial conversation, or other bucket. So let's move over to do though and show this is kind of more for personal to-do items. So Microsoft To Do, this is Microsoft To Do. And right now I have a few items in there, but this just lets me kind of see what's in store for my day. I can tag things as important, as planned, things that have been assigned to me from other people. So I did not give myself any tasks in the project, but it will bring those in. So if I'm assigned a task in a project that's due today, I could see that here and I could make it part of my day. So right now, because I'm using this demo account that's really just getting started, there's not a lot of things in here, but I'm going to start in this tasks view and I'm going to click add task, and it just gives me a place to enter what I need to do today. So let's call it Microsoft March follow-ups. So that's a task that I have today, just to follow up on the Microsoft March project. And I'm actually even going to give it a little star here to mark it as important. So to do is great if you launch in the to-do list, but what I really want to show is that you can work with to-dos right within Outlook. So I'm going to go over here to Outlook and I'm going to open it in a new tab. Okay, so let's see here. Yesterday, I got an email about TPS reports. Okay, I'm just going to clear that flag for now as an example. And I want to turn this item, TPS reports, into something that I need to do, because this is an email from me about TPS reports, and I know that's a reminder to me to get those done. So I'm going to right mouse click on this, and I can create a task out of it. So I can go to advanced options and create a task. Additionally, I can open the tasks window here on the right side, and you can see here's my all my to-do things. So I can see that every unread item in my Outlook inbox I always treat as an undone task. But if I also want to create like a follow-up item, like, okay, I know I need to do the TPS reports, but I want to finish getting through my inbox first, so I'm going to save this as a thing to do later. I can take, and the way I just showed is make it a task, or I can just drag and drop it and add it as a task. And you'll see it not only takes the subject line. So my subject line was TPS reports. It makes that the task item. And then it also shows me an email icon here. So I can always pop that email open to see, okay, what was the TPS reports about? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to share my TPS reports when it's ready. So then I can see the context of why that's on my to-do list. And in the same window, I can toggle, over my calendar. So for me, an overview of my day is generally look at my email, look at my calendar, look at my to-do, and now I have a good sense of how I'm going to be spending my time today.
Yep. And if you find yourself, right, somebody stopped by your desk and they say, hey, could you take care of this for me? There is an option from within your Outlook calendar there to add a task right there at the top. You can just start typing in what needs to be done and click add, and right then and there add it to your to-do list.
I just typed it in, I hit enter, and there it was right on my list. And you can actually drag these around too. So I want to prioritize these. I could drag this down. TPS reports, it's my top priority. I want to make that an important one. Microsoft March follow-ups, and these other items I know I need to get to, but they're not priority, so I'm going to keep those lower on my list. And then down here I can expand and see what I've completed. So the student success party form submission is one that we'll be demonstrating later that I have already checked off in part of our demonstration. So all right, we're running low on we're down to our final 20 minutes, so we're going to move on from to do And I think next up we wanted to show Power Automate. So how you can connect all this data together. So,
Hey, Brian, I think we got a couple questions.
oh, sorry, I'm moving on too quickly. What are the questions?
Fine. Question about, we'll go back to Planner is, Planner for MSU employees only. They're looking to work with some K through 12 teachers. It's my understanding that Planner works closely with teams, and a planner gets assigned for a group. So if you invite the people from outside into your group, they would be able to see some of the planner. Yes, no?
That is my understanding as well, that you can invite people who are not part of our system to join a team, and they have to create a Microsoft account because they need they need to be able to be identified. So they need an email, a user, which ends up being their username and their password. So that way Microsoft knows who they are, and that you're able to share the content just with them, that it's password protected. But they get a cut down version of some of these tools. So I think Planner though is pretty full featured. But there are things that, that are only meant to be university data that they wouldn't have access to. And so it's just going to be some trial and error there in terms of figuring out what you're all able to do with those external accounts versus, or guest accounts, I believe is what they're called in Microsoft. So,
and then we had another one about the to-dos. Can the way that we went through the to-dos and we added it dynamically from our email and viewing that list, is that same functionality in the desktop application?
In the desktop application of Outlook? Yes, I believe it is. So there's it's been in there for a long time, as long as I've been using Outlook, I think since about 2005. There's been a to-do list within Outlook, and you can do the same things. You can flag emails and make them to-do items, and it will stay in sync with your Microsoft To-Do Office 365 account. So that functionality is there. I'm not going to open that one because my Outlook account is currently logged into my personal stuff, so I won't demonstrate that one, but that is, it is there for you to use.
All right, I think our next topic was Power Automate.
Okay, so I'm going to go over to my app launcher again, and I need to find Power Automate. I might not be seeing it there. Let's see here. I'll search for it. Power Automate. So Power Automate is now the name for what used to just be called Microsoft Flows. And instead of the whole product being called Flows, within Power Automate, they have Flows. So sorry if there's any confusion there. If you ever heard of Flows, it is now called Power Automate, but inside of it, you create things that are called Flows. So we wanted to quick show a flow that we created here that tied together some of the other tools that we've been using in this demonstration. So the flow that we created is called Student Success Party Notifications. So Steve had showed and shared that form that was for collecting information about who's willing to give different things for the Student Success Party. And we wanted to take that data and make it available in other places. So we didn't want to have to keep going back to the form to check and say, oh, did anyone submit anything yet? Did anyone submit anything yet? Instead, we decided to set up some notifications around it. So what we did here is we took input from the flow. So we took the form and we created an email notification so that anytime someone submits the form, it would send an email notification to my demo account, and it would have the subject of Student Success Party form submissions, and it would include data from the form. It would include the person and what they're planning to bring. So that's all I wanted to be notified about. So I set it up that anytime someone submit that form, it would tell me who submitted and what they're planning to bring. But that was good for me, that I like my notifications coming in my email inbox, but the rest of my team, I don't know if they want it in their email inbox. So what I decided to do there is just to actually post it to our team. So we have a team name here. In this example, it's Steve Rodman is the team name. Normally that'd probably be something like a department name. So we chose the team, Steve Rodman. We posted it to the general channel so that everyone that's part of the team can see it. And we gave that same information of who entered it and what they're planning to bring. And so when someone submits that form, I think I just heard a chime. It makes me think, I wonder if I got an email about it. Look at this, at 10:45 a.m., here's my email notification from Microsoft Power Apps telling me that Emma Fleury is planning to bring pie. And that's the exact notification I was hoping to get. So my flow seems to have worked. I have it set up here. I can go back and I can see the flows. So let me go back here, and you'll see that at 10:45 a.m., it took 6 seconds for it to do everything, but it succeeded. All right, so there's a history of when my flows are run. In addition, the other place we had it set up to go to was to that team, right? So let me see if I have access to that team and show you what that looks like.
Yeah, Power Automate is a very powerful tool with lots of different functionality that can be used, not only from organizing form surveys, but taking Excel data and doing some computations and writing it back in the same place or in a different spot. It can be used for quite a variety of different things, inputs, outputs, communication tools, as we're showing here, getting an email as well as a team notification. It can also be used in advanced scenarios, soliciting feedback through Teams. We could have taken that student survey and made it a post in a Teams channel and allowed people to fill it out right from within Teams.
And I went to launch Teams. It's not firing up. Once again, I'm using a demonstration account in addition to using my personal account. So I have a feeling that I'm giving it some challenges here. I got a notification in my regular Teams account at the same time as I was firing that up. So I'm wondering if I just crossed some wires there. But was there any other questions about Power Automates? The abilities within Power Automate are really anything that's within Office 365. If you can imagine it, moving from one place to another. So maybe it comes in as an email and you want it to be turned into a task or posted to a team or moved to a list. All that is possible. Now it is a little bit more of a challenging product. It is a power tool in terms of the first time you go to use it, you might find it confusing or frustrating. So we really recommend, working with one of our solutions architects or our solution center if you need help implementing one of those Power Automate tools for your team or for something you're working on in Office 365. If you have the time to get to learn it and really practice those skills, it's really amazing all the things you can do. Were there any questions before I move on to our next product?
I don't see any questions in the chat or the Q&A, so I think we'll go ahead and move along.
Okay. So that was Power Automate. We already did To Do. We jumped ahead on that one. So I believe the next thing we wanted to show was just lists and Sway. So I'll start with Sway. Once again,
Microsoft Lists and Sway are the last two on our list.
Before I move on, I should show my teams did initialize here. So I just wanted a quick show that at 10:45, when that form was submitted by Emma Fleury, and they're planning to bring pie, that posted here to the team. So then I could reply, can't wait for this. And so if you have a form of people submitting information, and posting it to a team, it gives people a place to comment on that. So if you have a team that's collecting information on a given thing and you want the ability to kind of create a conversation around everything that's submitted, it's really a powerful tool. So sorry about that. I got a little sidetracked, but let's continue on to Sway. And I'm going to go over here to, did I already have it open? No, I don't have it open yet. Scroll down this way. All right, Sway is really a cool tool for building a presentation in a web format, but it really, think of it as like a web version of PowerPoint, I'd say is a good example, but it also lets you do really cool photo, sharing photos or different text and photos kind of combined. So here's an example, idea. So this example within Sway of what you can do. And you can see as I actually scroll down, this one's set up to actually scroll to the side. So I can kind of go through and I got a really, really big, beautiful pictures here, some information, topic and some information here to go along with it. So this could really be used as a newsletter or as a, one person I've worked with on this used it as a way to show pictures on their website. So rather than uploading a lot of pictures into Episerver, our website platform, they created a sway and embedded that sway on their webpage so people could toggle through. They had like 100 pictures or something that not everyone needed to see. So we didn't want to make it part of the webpage where they had to scroll past, but we wanted to embed a way for people to toggle through the pictures. So those are just kind of some cool examples of how to use Microsoft Sway. And we're not going to get into, because we're running out of time, I'm not going to get into too much detail on this, but just wanted to let people know that this tool is available as a cool way to create visual presentations in a web-friendly format. And the last thing we were going to talk about is lists. Again, we don't have a lot of time, so I won't spend too much time on it, but I just wanted to show if you liked the list making abilities that you've seen in some of the other apps in terms of Planner or Microsoft To Do, here's a general purpose list making app. So because this is the first time I'm going to it with this demo account, it's popping over this examples of what you can do. So we'll just quick toggle through this. So you can start with a template, Excel file, or from scratch. You can view your data your way, so you can really customize how it's viewed, and you can set rules to notify your team. So some examples of lists that I've seen, let me click new list and I'll show you a few here that they give as examples. There's an issue tracker, employee onboarding list. So once again, this is kind of like a checklist thing. There's event itinerary, asset manager. So just a lot of cool suggestions of things that you can build within lists. So I'll choose, I know in our department, we have a travel request, or actually I think it's a training request form, but we'll use the travel request template just to kind of show what that looks like. And we want the color of this, we want it to be purple. And because it's travel, we'll choose the airplane as the icon, and we'll save it to, we could save it to my list. So that'd just be a personal list for me, or I could make it part of my team. And I can have an option here to show it on site navigation. So then I'll click create. And now here I have a list, and I could share this list out with the team and have them, anytime they want to make a travel request, they come here, they press the new button, it will slide over a form, and they should fill out that form and save it. And when they save it, it will post here to the list. And then from here, using the tool that we previously demonstrated with Power Automate, we could do all sorts of things. So we could take that and have it email me, or I could post it to a team, or I could have it automatically create a task for me. So there's just lots of different things within Power Automate. Once the benefit of lists versus, you might use a Word document or OneNote or something like that, just to create an individual list of things for yourself to reference. But if you want to do something with the data, if you want it to be structured data, then Microsoft List is really the way to go. So you can limit the data type with any given item so that you can do calculations based on it. So maybe if you haven't approved or denied a travel request within 1 week after getting it, you could use the start dates and the end dates, or you could the date that it was submitted, you could use that and create some calculated functions based off that. So it's, once again, you could do something as simple as just creating a list of spaces in your department. And as you want to add more data to that, so maybe you want to add square footage down the road, you can add a column and you could add that. Or if you wanted to build some functions around it, collecting data in these tools initially, it might feel like, oh, why are we using this for that? We could use this other easier tool. But once you kind of learn the value of structured data and what functions you can build around that, you can really start to build some cool workflows. Were there any other questions related to lists or Sway? Otherwise, we're nearing the end of our time here, and we'll do our wrap up.
We had one question, if we can hop back to Sway. So this person asks, for someone who normally uses PowerPoint, what are the pros and cons of using Sway? And can a finished Sway project be put on a memory stick or used on a different computer?
So that's one of the nice things about Sway is that it's in the Office. If in the Office 365 environment, it's part of that cloud. So you can actually access that from anywhere you have an internet connection. I do know that you can export your Sway. The formats that they allow you to export in are Word and PDF. So your completed Sway could be exported and shared around, a variety of different ways.
Yeah, and to Steve's point, that you wouldn't need to put it on a memory stick because you can save it in your Office 365 environment. So anywhere you have an internet connection and you know how to get to Sway, so going through Mapmail, the fastest routes that we've demonstrated, then you can get to your Sway. So once again, all you need is a computing device and internet access, and you can access your Sways. But you can also export them, so you can just create a link that's available to anybody. So then all you need to do is share the link, and all you'd have to do is have that URL, and you'd be able to get there from anywhere in the world without even logging in if you make it a public Sway. Any other questions?
One more question. This person asks, can you use a Sway presentation in a Zoom meeting or in a webinar like we're doing right now?
I think you could. So here's some examples that they're giving us, and let me do the photo collage. So just like I'm doing right now, the only thing I don't like is that it's telling me to edit it. And if I wanted to do a presentation, let's see if I can go into a presentation mode. If not, we just have to look around this. Anything I'm missing here, Steve? Is there a presentation view? It's because I'm logged into my account and I'm in an edit mode that I'm not doing this. So I think what I'd want to do is get the sharing link and then go to it from the link rather than from my account.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong on that. Okay. So because this isn't one of my, is this one of mine? I can't remember. Yeah, that's one we're gonna have to dig in some more on. So I can't remember exactly how to play it like a PowerPoint presentation off the top of my head, but I think there are some options there. And again, so the overviews that we gave for almost all these tools were just that. They were overviews of what's possible within Office 365, but they were not, if you want to get into some of the nitty gritty of these apps, we really recommend using LinkedIn Learning. And if you search LinkedIn Learning, MNSU, that's my shortcut for searching anything on our website. I can get to the LinkedIn Learning website here, and I can log in or create an account. I'm not going to do that here because I don't even think my demo account has access, but my personal account does. I would click this, takes me over to LinkedIn Learning. I could search for Sway and watch a full tutorial, self-paced, really in-depth training around some of these products that we've just demonstrated.
Okay, thanks, Brian. I think we have one more question that we'll take, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But this last question here, this person is asking, is there a way that you can determine if you need to use Planner, To Do, or Lists? Which one is the best? And is there like certain questions that you should consider for whatever application you're doing to decide which of those apps you want to use?
Sure. So for me, we previously had talked about OneDrive and Teams, and I always like to think of OneDrive as a place for my documents and Teams as a place for our documents. So me and my team's documents. Same thing with To Do versus Planner, in my opinion. This is my own personal perspective. Microsoft To Do is really around my to-do list, and Planner is around the action items that need to be completed for this given project. So this one isn't even really team-based, it's more project-based. So if we're launching a new website, who's all involved on that? They should all have access to the Planner. So not only can they keep track of what they're supposed to be doing, but they can see what their team members are working on as well. So that's the way I organize it. Steve or Lexi, if either of you have other suggestions, please share.
No, that's the way that I take that approach too. The to-do list is really kind of that individual, especially with the way that it integrates in and around your inbox. It's really kind of building up your day, your week on the things that you need to do. And then Brian, for the Sway, if you click on the design tab next to Storyline, you'll get the play button in the upper right-hand corner.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. That'll play your Sway as it goes.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm still in the like the view mode there, so I won't use that one as an example. But when you're in, you would open your Sway and then you would go to the play button, and that's where it would start playing it. So this was my new Sway that I have no content in, so it's not a great example. But thank you, Steve. Appreciate that.
All right, thanks, Brian and Steve. I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. We did get lots of questions, so thank you to everyone for asking those, and apologies again if we couldn't get to them all, but we really do appreciate that. So thank you, everyone. So before you go, I have just a few quick reminders to share with you that are helpful. If you're interested in viewing other IT Solutions webinars on other topics, head over to mankato.mnsu.edu/ITS webinars, where you can find sessions on lots of different topics like cybersecurity, tech tools for remote working, tips for university website editors, and more. And then to stay up to date with the latest campus technology news, get tech help and support, or explore our other resources, go online to our website at mnsu.edu/ITS. And don't forget to find us on Facebook at ITSMSU and follow us on Twitter at ITSMNSU. We're always posting lots of helpful tips over there. So that concludes our final Microsoft March webinar. We want to thank everyone for joining us throughout the month. We really appreciate having you all here, and have an awesome rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.